Okay, can I start or do I have to wait?
I'm loading it up now to see if it's up.
It's working. We're up. I see it us on YouTube.
All right. Good evening, or at least it's evening where I am right now. Welcome to the Demisexuality and Grey-A Experiences panel as part of AceCon 2023. Yay! Welcome again to everyone. My name is Justin. Pronouns are he, they. I'm one of the panelists and the host. And before we start, I just wanted to first acknowledge that I'm speaking to you right now from ceded territory under Treaty 13, which is the ancestral land of the Huron-Wendat Nation, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, and the Haudenosaunee, and something that I've been really thinking about a lot, given a lot of recent events, has been our relationship, especially my relationship as a colonizer, as part of a colonizer country, with First Nations of Canada and North America. And I really wish to do, going forward, whatever I can to help restore right relations and justice for the First Nations of the world. And I'm also thankful for the Indigenous peoples of Australia for their hospitality in giving us this space to be all together on Australian territory. Yeah. So let's, I guess, go around and introduce ourselves. So anyone, yeah, if anyone wants to kick us off.
I can start if we just go in the order of the little panels from left to right. Hello, my name is Cove. I use he, him pronouns. I am ace flux, so I fluctuate mostly, but not always, between demisexual, graysexual, agosexual, and ace. But sometimes there's some experiences outside of that. And then I'm also, I think, demi-romantic, and I'm transgender. So I'll mostly be talking about the fact that I'm ace flux and that interaction throughout this panel. And then we have an interpreter for Cobra.
Hi. I'm Krista. I'm going to be doing behind the scenes moderating for this panel. And I'm also going to be reading for Cobra. So, Cobra, they are a neurodivergent disabled person from Australia. They identify as gender fluid and Arrow Ace. They helped on the Aussie Ace Week team in 2021. They like a lot of different things, such as animals, food, and head pats. They like learning new things and being creative. They're also questioning, but demi and ace flux, which is relevant for this panel.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Artemis. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm in the United States. I identify as ego, arrow ace, so ego romantic and ego sexual, and that's what I'll be speaking from that experience.
Are we going counterclockwise or?
I'm Theodon. I mean pronouns, and I am from Indonesia. And I just continue. So I'm Theodon, and I as demi sexual and romantic, which is what's relevant here.
Yeah, children, maybe what you could do is type out what you type out what you want to say, and perhaps one of us could read it. Could read it. Sorry, Rory. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just, we're here. We're doing the thing.
We are. We certainly are.
Just like Angela Bassett did the thing. And I'm glad I'm sorry. I was about to go off on a mild tangent. Should I introduce myself? I don't think I was next.
While we get children kind of back, yeah, Rory, please go ahead.
Okay. I am so sorry for not including my pronouns. I was like, oh, we got to get on the thing. That's starting to become a thing. Anyway, my name is Rory Still. My pronouns are she, they, he. We're feeling that out. What does that mean? I'm still learning different terms, but I think I identify as like demi-flux. I think gray sexual flux, we're as we grow, and I guess I know we like the queen. I'm understanding more of what it means. So I guess I know we have the term questioning, but I don't know, learning too. So I would say demi flux. Sometimes I am looking at looks. We're figuring out. Gray, definitely, because I have a story. And just in some of the other terms, like I learned there was a very interesting term where you can like fictional characters. So it's So fluxing and learning. There we go. Fluxing, questioning, and learning. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rory. And yeah, I forgot to also mention about myself. If we're going to go into the terminology, biromantic demisexual is what I like to use, but I'm kind of also in sort of that ace flux kind of nebulous realm. And for general political convenience, nomenclature convenience, I just use ace. So.
Oh, I forgot to mention the other stuff. I've created a new word. Feel free to use it, folk. It might trademark, but yeah, bipanison. I'm making that a thing now because I feel like I definitely identify romantically, especially sexually, too. But or attraction wise, like definitely under the bi flag, the omni flag, pan and wallet. One could be of all. There are separations or as we speak about borders. When putting out good borders or whatnot. But so since I identify, I've made a word for myself, bipanison. Yeah, because is somewhere in there. Yeah, we'll go with that. We don't worry about the spelling. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just waiting for Krista.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure since Tildren came back, but I will read for Tildren as well. Nee says, "Hi, I'm Tildren from Indonesia, and I identify as demi-ace."
Awesome. All right. So we have a whole bunch of discussion questions prepared, and we're also taking questions from the Slido. I think it was, so we have a question there. What are the most common experiences that someone may identify as gray asexual, or demisexual rather than just asexual?
Okay, I can start. I don't want to take too much time setting this up, but I know it's going to come up at some other point in the podcast, so I'll just try to do a quickened version of my story. I started identifying as demisexual in high school because I just felt something was off there. It didn't align with other people's perceptions I felt, so I just put a label on it so I could understand, oh, I'm a little bit different, but not that much. And then coming into college, I realized that it really kind of didn't incorporate the whole of my experience, because while, yes, I did need like a connection to someone, there was these very weird, very specific exceptions that I didn't have to know them at all, but also it was very particular people, and I was getting very confused about like, well, does Demi not describe me? So I started looking into more labels, and I found that Grey-A's kind of covered that experience I was having, where sometimes I just had no feelings for anybody I felt Demi for. All those feelings would go away, but then I would have some random exception, so it wasn't as if I was completely ace, but all the feelings I had before I would hit that gray feeling would just go away. So it was the fact that my attraction for someone would disappear and then reappear that made me be like, okay, maybe there's some stuff going on here. And I ended up discovering that I fluctuate between different labels. Demi and Grey are the two labels I experience the most often. But I also found that ego happens sometimes, where even the people I feel when I'm in a Grey mindset disappear. And I know that there's these characters I feel attraction to, but not personally. Um, it's like if I were a different human being, I'd be attracted to them, but in my body, I'm not. So that's my way of understanding my experience, but other people word it differently, so we'll go through other people.
All right, I can kind of go through my journey. So the ego basically means that there's a disconnect between me and the objects or the subjects of my attraction. And so I am in my 30s. I just assumed I'm straight. I'll get there when I get there, whenever I want to, and people are not my biggest thing. I like my characters. I like my TV shows and my books. I like reading. I like writing fan fiction. I
Mm.
like, if I watch something or read something, I'm immediately going to ship somebody. That's just going to happen. It's if I don't ship somebody, that usually means I'm not very into whatever media I'm entertaining. And relatively, I guess I've only identified or found out my identity about 2 years ago. But I kind of assumed I was Demi without ever realizing really what that meant, or that it was relevant to um, being aspect at all. I just assumed, well, my number one trope is best friends to lovers. So that's usually if I see that, I'm gonna ship it. And I just assumed, well, maybe that was my story too, because it was definitely the first crush I had when I was 8 was like my best friend.
Mm.
But then I just assumed also I don't have a lot of friends. I don't really have somebody like that, so that's why I don't really feel that way, and whatever. And then I'm on Tumblr, I'm on Discord, and people would start, headcanoning different sexualities. And so I kind of started to hear about asexual. And
Mm.
then in the latest fandom, which big on that, I was trying to figure out, okay, I think this person might be aspec, but I don't know a whole lot about it. And also I still ship them. So I had to figure out how to write that ship. So I'm on Discord, I'm in the fandom, and I'm doing a lot of Googling going, oh, oh, wait, oh, oh, wait, that's me? Wait, what? What? I'm sorry. Can somebody explain what sexual attraction or romantic attraction is? I don't understand. I don't understand. And I started to realize, that might be me. And then through some of the fandoms, people were talking different um, ace labels, and somebody just said agosexual, and I Googled it, and I'm like, wow, you have just explained the last, whatever, 20 years of my life
Mm.
suddenly makes so much sense. Why I ship how I ship, why I don't ship myself with people, but I ship the characters together. And it just kind of everything came together. And that's why, for me personally, labels are very important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I see that somebody was just asking, what does shipping mean? Shipping is short for relationships.
Mhm.
It's just shortening just to go that. Oh, even if the relationship is not canon, especially if the relation, and that's a big thing too. I'm not a big, like, I don't always ship canon because I look at that and I go, I don't understand why you're together.
Hmm.
Why aren't these people together? Because that makes more sense. It goes back to, well, you're friends and you know each other, so why shouldn't
Mhm.
you be in a relationship versus I don't know you, I idolize you, I've never spoken to you, we just met, I don't understand how you guys are together.
Hmm. I can go next. I actually have a question.
Okay, I guess
Oh, I'm so sorry. I never.
Hello, children. Are you there? Oh, I think they might be. There might be some continuing connectivity issues.
yeah, it was connectivity stuff. I think I can go next. Like similar to Artemis, I also found there's actual fandom, but it's a bit different. Like all my life, I just wasn't really that interested in a romantic relationship. I was like, I'm focusing on school, or like, oh, these boys are still too immature for me. Like, I'm going to wait until they're more sane and I can like do something. And there was this fan film back in 2020 called Detroit Evolution about a non-canon ship, and one of the main characters was like as Ace in the fan film, and I was watching a cast interview and how important the presentation was for them. I went and searched up what the asexuality is, and then I eventually found that asexuality, which sort of resonated. Still took me reading the stories of other than to really connect to it. My experience of the only relationship I've been in so far, which has been a long distance relationship that has since ended. And from those experiences, I was like, hey, I do that. So it was very relatable there when I saw how that plays out with other people instead of just the stock definition.
Thank you so much, children. And Corey, I believe you're next.
Me or is there? Okay. Oh, it's Rory.
Rob.
It's okay. Don't.
Rory. Sorry, I apologize.
Thank you. Well, I have a question before I go into my particular experiences because, like, I'm definitely still learning vocabulary here. So agosexual means. Could you define that again, please?
Simplistically, without putting out,
Mm-hmm.
um, having to find my stuff, it's basically like there's a disconnect between you and the subject of your fantasy. So you can like content, reading or writing or viewing the content, but
Mm-hmm.
you are not a participant in
Oh,
that. So it's always from like a
party.
third party you're watching, but not ever participating in
Okay. Well,
anything.
um, okay. I think that while I didn't, okay, that might have been a little bit of what I was talking about beforehand. I thought I had another word, but I don't know. It's funny. A song comes to mind from like clipping. from Lord, I'm trying to remember the song, but basically one of the lines is she just crushed a lot. I'm thinking way back when, like, you know, when I was younger, I would always crush on like a TV character. Like from my first little boyfriends were definitely cartoons. Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles, Vinny the Vampire from Gravedale High, Bush Root. I like the villain, y'all. Like, from Darkwing Duck. I was like happy when they did that alternate reality where he was like a good guy, and I knew I was like, I don't know how to put this. I knew I was a kid. So I was like, ooh, I can't date a grown man plant. So, you know, I like in my mind de-aged him, and like Darkwing Duck adopted us, like, and all three of us were living in this man's house. Now as an adult, I know I made a lot of assumptions about his budget, you know. So he seemed to be an indie superhero. So, but I definitely felt a lot of connections in learning about that. And I guess very bluntly, I've definitely dated, crushed, and had very heavy attraction. You know, some of it's been sexual, but you know, she's going to end up being 40 in September. And okay, perhaps this is okay to be this blunt since we're here about this panel. But yeah, never did the deed. And while I'm interested in trying it. It's, I don't know. It feels like, you know, we talked about the word disconnect. I don't know. In some ways, part of me is like wants to try it, like I would want to try a new food, but like I like food more than wanting to try that. You know, like if you ask me, Rory, but then again, maybe in like I found out as an adult, this I think maybe ties together. Definitely a bit neurodiverse. Found out I had ADHD as an adult. Explains so many things, people. But I realized, like, for me, my crush, I will hyper focus on someone. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times these folk have been like, well, you know, after we got past after we, you know, there's still, I moved from cartoon people to like real people, but not necessarily, I know I definitely was crushing on people who were within my realm, but like, I don't know, like didn't start dating till like high school, you know, always liked folk, but like, I'm still kind of exploring what this means, you know, definitely want to have kids, definitely somebody, you know, they call certain things baby fever. A friend of mine came up with baby rabies. I thought that was hilarious and amazing. So funny. I'll be using it. I will quote him later, but yeah, like, I guess for me, it's just part of me wants to, like, you know, there's very handsome people like Jonathan Majors, and, you know, and I'm gonna be careful who else I'm saying, because like I've met certain people, and like, yeah, part of me, but I realize mine crosses over a little into attraction through other, I don't, through some other ways, you know what I'm saying? Like, and if
Yeah,
it,
that tertiary attraction, the different, not the
Mhm.
romantic or sexual attraction, but the other types of attraction.
I'm trying to think. No, I definitely had those too, but like I said, I'm not. Part of me wants to, you know, try the deed, try sex, but part of me is realize I won't die if I don't, if that makes sense. And I think that's where the flux comes in. Like, because I'm like, they're going to end up like, I don't know, you know how, like, you know, not necessarily great self-talk. I was like, Rory, they're going to find out and they're going to kick you off the panel just in the middle of it. Like, we found the pictures, get out, you know. But like, what I'm definitely learning is that, like, you know, it's flux is a very useful terminology. And I'm sorry, like I said, near 40 and I'm on my phone, so I got to squint. Artemis, I like what you said about labels, because while I realize, you know, folks shouldn't have to have a label or a thing, I personally find labels also empowering, because it helps me learn about, like, you know, just it helps me learn more about who the evolving being of myself is. So I guess the most touch tones might be, you know, did the romantic thing, but it made sense as far as, like, you know, not having necessarily tried, you know, full blown intercourse, you know, to and I hope I wasn't oversharing with this. I'm thinking for the panel, maybe not. you know. But like I said, I part of me wants to, but it's sort of like, hey Rory, do you want to try this particular thing? And I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's not. I realize like the world won't end if that doesn't happen necessarily, you know. So it's like I like, and I won't, you know. I realize we have three other people, but yeah, I do participate in the realm like I'm an erotica writer, you know. And at the same time, my connection with certain things is both engorged and at times tenuous, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much, Rory. Yeah.
Thank you.
The next question should be coming along shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic question. What challenges do you think Grey, Demi, and Ago people face compared to others in the queer, asexual, and aromantic community, and why? Oh, I think we got to take our Cove.
Okay. All children type to star first.
Oh, children, sorry, you're up first. Nem beat you to it. Children, I believe you're muted.
I think they typed their, or Nay typed their response, and then
okay.
Krista read.
There was a quick lag there. So I think the is basically that one, we're not aware of our own identity, and two, quote unquote straight passing. Like because we're unaware, we assume we're straight, or others assume we're straight because we are very so that's the main challenge, which also fits into some of the gatekeeping that I've heard about.
Thank you so much. Cove is next.
Yeah. First off, I want to emphasize the straight passing thing, or like the. Sometimes people just assume like, oh, it's like the same as being allo, or kind of excludes you from the ace community, or allo people exclude you from their community. It's very weird how some people interact with these like in between labels. I also find that I have to explain that is a valid identity a lot more. Like if I told people I was ace, I would get a different reaction than if I told people I was demi or gray. When I say demi or gray, some people will like actively like challenge the fact that it's a sublabel. And I also get commentary about why do you use labels a lot more when I say like a sublabel than if I just say ace. And sometimes that's annoying. I can understand people not wanting to use sublabels or not wanting to like have us keep sectoring off identities more and more and more. But also I think that there's still a validity in having sublabels.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't challenge someone who uses one because they chose to use one. So I think those are the main challenges I've noticed.
Thanks. Next is sorry. Next is Artemis.
Yeah, just I guess kind of repeating, but yeah, it's the fact that people they know a lot of the other terms in the LGBTQ community, and they know what being ace means. They, But once you start going into the, micro labels, it's always comes with explanations, and especially in these three labels, well, you're demi, and it's the doesn't everybody? No, 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 everybody doesn't. If everybody did, you would understand it more. Or the gray, well, so you feel it. So why do you have to use this label? If you feel it, then you should be using the other labels. Or, in the ego, it's like, it's that same concept of you have to explain it, and then you also have to defend what that means to you. So that's why, you know what, I do call myself Arrow Ace. If I am in an A-spec community, I will use the term ego because I feel more comfortable. And if I have to explain it, and then you have other people go, oh, that's starting to make more sense. But in that same way, that's why labels are important. And that's why we do use our labels.
Mm.
And for some, it's easier to explain that way. And for some, it's not. But the fact that, yeah, we don't fit into the queer community, we don't fit into the allo community, we don't fit anywhere. But hey, you know what? I joined my work's LGBTQ um, affinity group as the A, going, hey, I'm just going to be here. I'm going to be an ally and help. And along the way, going, well, anyway, I am the A, but also A doesn't not stand for ally. We have to, A stands for asexual, aromantic, and agender, and all the micro labels that come with it. But we need more education, and these labels, this community right now in this point in time are the ones who have to face the most questioning.
Before I kind of chimed in, Cobra says that also AO3, which is an archive of our own, which is a really famous, really popular fan fiction site, gives so much ace validation. And Children says, TMA, AO3 fandom, my beloved. I confess I don't know what TMA is. Is that a show, series, anime?
The Magnus Archives, I think.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I just wanted to say that what you said, Artemis, really resonated with me. There's a lot of emotional labor that goes into explaining like demisexuality, what demi means, what ego means, what gray means, and so, yeah, for me personally, in my own experience, it almost makes me not want to use that term, just using ace, just because it's just easier for everyone involved. And if I'm in a room full of people, like if I'm in a space like this one, yeah, I'll totally use it. And try not to take up too much time, but I think for me personally, the major challenge is that like there seems to be a lot of emphasis placed nowadays on putting people into very specific boxes. You have an identity, you have a label, and that is your box, and that's kind of how you define your how you interact with your queerness, how you interact with your sexuality, your gender. And what's really challenging is that a lot of these gray identities, for me, being demisexual, being also kind of being in that kind of gray ace flux space, really challenges a lot of that clear definition. It really forces you to think about how there's so much nuance and there's so much subtlety in how we think about ourselves sexually, how we think about our relationships, our connections with others, that really kind of break down those kind of binary set rigid ideas of who we are and who we aren't, who we are attracted to and who we aren't. It's a struggle, but also in a lot of ways I find it also really empowering as well, in a kind of subversive kind of patriarchy, heteronormative, busting way. It's a really interesting and fascinating way to say, hey, here are experiences that I'm a part of that really speak to how we can deconstruct and dismantle a lot of structures and ideas around sexuality and attraction that really that are really very toxic in our society. So.
I think, you know what, just going to piggyback slightly on what you said. It can definitely have emotional labor attached to it. And at the same time, I don't know, positive pioneers, dare I use it, or positive first liners, maybe first, quarterbacks, not quarterback. I'm learning football positions, American football positions. Um, we definitely are people who the next generation's behind us. I think we have some Zoomers here. Well, Generation Alpha, there'll be less questions because there's what excites me about this, even though there's challenges, we're challenging the challenges through things like media, including literature. Because there's this YA graphic novel about being ace. There's a lot of about being ace, and although some ignorant folks, actively ignorant and problematic, folk are trying to push it, and governmentally wise, we keep writing and we keep doing these things, which is very important. I'm also thinking that, I don't know, I'm curious what the panel thinks in the audience. Maybe we can actually end up getting some little cards with a very simple definition, or ones that said, don't be a butt, leave me alone. One of the two, and it's on either side of the card, depending on how you're feeling that day. Sort of like the octopus you change over that has that face. Something in that realm, because the fact that someone would, and I know this happens, real life and stuff, but it just irkifies me that somebody would push back against anybody's identity. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I just didn't hop out a hat with this, or even if I did, it's okay for me to actively learn this. I am not harming you, but if you keep playing with me, just kidding. We're on public TV. I think there needs to be a card that says, don't be a butt. I don't know. I think maybe I'm hearing the challenge of the next thing I need to produce with my media company, the don't be a butt cards. Also comes with tiny octopi you can flip back and forth. But yeah, it makes me sad that folk are bothering us. We're not out here bothering anybody, and it's too bad we don't have some version of the bat signal, but an ace bat. Not sure, or I'm not sure what animal. Thankfully, it seems like we're in a lot of fandoms, so I feel like we could pick a couple animals, and just it would be like this little flashlight with a creature on it, and when someone is trying to define you for you, and you did not invite them in to do that, and they're leaping over your boundaries, you could just flash it on a flat surface, and then all the aces, just across the spectrum just would zoom and I don't know what we're going.
Panda. I've heard panda as a ace animal.
I'm here.
Or just the cake. Just signal a cake and you'll find the aces.
Oh, what about a panda with a cake? A panda eating cake.
I mean, all pandas eat and sleep, and they represent me very well, and I agree with that.
Okay, so that's the animal we're gonna go with first. Get a little flashlight, cut out, put it on, and when somebody's bothering you about wherever you are on your micro label, or your just flash it on a flat surface, and we'll come and trying to think of what we can do when we get there. Any ideas, people? This is a good thing about panels. Once the signal is flashed, what do we do when we arrive? I'm thinking singing off key. That's just my addition to that. But yeah.
Oh, we got a dragon setting them on fire. I forgot. That's true. Dragon. See, I don't have the right mug. I've got my Sailor Moon, but
okay.
My dragon, Ace Dragon, is dirty. But yeah, we got the dragons. We got anything. We got anything.
I like it. So far, we got a panda, a dragon, eating cake. I'm here for it. Kind of like those little cartoons of the anthropomorphic animals talking to each other and saying little things. It's hilarious. It's on Instagram. But okay. And the attack is singing off key. I like our plan so far.
I'm muted. Yeah, so we've had the topic of micro labels coming up because a lot of it kind of it's very relevant. That issue is very relevant to the gray ace, gray romantic, demi discussion. So, question is, what are some tips for people who are new to or encounter someone with micro labels? And Cove is up.
So this is both from the perspective of how I want people to treat me, but also the perspective of how I go about meeting other ace people in real life. Since I'm on a university, we have like little club meetings, and we meet a lot of people in those club meetings because there's a lot of queer people on campus, but not all of them can always make the time, so you're always meeting new people. I think, oh, the question got removed from the page here. I think the two big things for me, I always try to be open-minded, even if it's a label I've never heard before, an experience I've never heard before, even if it is a different definition of a label I have, I try to be open to that and be like, hey, this person has a different understanding. I'm going to learn their understanding and just analyze how they understand themselves and see if I can learn something from them too, because my identity is always fluctuating. And sometimes how I learned to navigate my identity was listening to other people explain their identity. So just letting them have their voice and not challenging that voice is very important. I think from the receiving end, the most annoying thing is when someone challenges your perception of something because it's how you understand yourself. And even when you put it in words to try to explain it to someone, it's not going to capture the full image because language is language. We can't telepathically show what we experience. And so even if you don't understand it, or even if the words don't come out the way they are meant to, I think just letting them let them have their understanding of themselves and don't challenge that, because that is very harmful a lot of the time. That wasn't worded the best way I could have worded it, but we'll go with it.
Oh, sorry, I muted. Children, you're next.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that like when I use it instead of just saying error is, it means that I actually test this person close enough that explaining the difference in the micro label and just the aspect 101 that there are people who don't experience sexual or romantic action, or just the gender. It's situational, and if I'm actually using the micro label, then I think it's fine to just ask me question in the face, like ask me the resources where you can read about it, because I need help to find. So I have to help people learn about it if I'm actually bothering to say that I'm that specific micro label.
Okay, I think you're are you finished, children? I think, or just wanted to make sure before I start talking. Oh, yeah. I would say my big tip as someone who's really struggled with micro labels and where they fit and how I understand myself. For me, I guess I would say be open to exploring whatever labels come to you and where the trail leads you, because maybe you might start off thinking that you are demisexual, and that might lead you into being demiromantic, that might lead you into being agosexual or lithromantic, or any one of those really fascinating and powerful labels. Because that's really what they're for. They're to really empower you to better understand where you are and who you are. And I think that in my own experience, for me, it's easy to get really married to a label. It's easy to get really like attached and fixated on one and say like, that's me and that's only going to be me. And then you come across challenges to that might make you revise your definitions and ideas of yourself. And you think, oh, wow, like this is really a big crisis. I think being open and being fluid and just kind of, just being open to whatever labels come to you and being open to the fact that your labels may change as your knowledge of yourself evolves, I think is really important. Yeah.
I just want to voice something I typed in our chat really quickly. I wanted to emphasize that when you meet someone with like a label that you've never heard of, rather than saying like, tell me what that is, I would highly recommend phrasing it as a question of like, oh, if you would like to, could you explain what that means to me? Because I don't know it. Phrasing it as a question and not like a demand, like tell me now, gives the whole interaction a very different perspective, a very different impression. And I think sometimes I struggle with watching what words I'm saying, especially when I'm talking to someone. And I've started to notice that more, and that's something I've been working on a lot as an individual, is like having those more padding on the questions I ask, so that doesn't sound demanding.
Yeah, I think having that spirit of curiosity is really, really key. Yeah.
Kind curiosity. Yeah.
Thank you. Kind curiosity.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on, how has your experience with being gray, demi, or ego affected your relationships, for example, with partners or families, or dating experience? The dating question. Okay, we've got Rory up first.
Okay. I don't know why I raised my hand to remember a painful experience. However, it actually was my first time going on a date with a girl, trying to make more of that happen, y'all, in 2023. And the rest, but we actually ended up deciding, like, I guess not to date, or she decided she didn't want to date me because I was not. The person was more interested in, like, this was a sexual being, and I was like, I had just met them too, so I was like, oh, I'm kind of gray. I said that at the beginning, though. I'm just saying, I was very clear. Anyway, but that didn't work out, but that's okay. There's other people out there, who will ride in on the Ace Dragons. Yes. But I'm liking the chat's very exciting. In the comment section. But yeah, that actually was super painful because, like, I had a huge crush on her. She was a redhead too. But yes, love me a ginger. But yeah, no, it's yeah, that was quite upsetting, I must say. But I don't know. I think, like, you know what, I guess it could definitely fit in the experience of, ooh, like, not my thing to immediately hop into this. I haven't hopped into this at all, but, like, I realized for me, and I'm honestly trying to understand my attraction a little bit more, like, within the flux. I think it is easier for me to be, like, sexually attracted to femme people than maybe mask or the in between. I don't know. But part of me, when I say that out loud, doesn't. It's in that gray area because it's part of me feels that's a truth, but with nuance, or two truths, two trains running, two truths, truth, rubber baby buggy bumpers, two truths running. That's both true and not true. So it's I'm equally attracted. Like I said, the first little cartoon people I liked happen to be boys. But I would go with Wonder Woman in a heartbeat. Listen, if I ever find out their Misi is real, I might have to do this panel from the island. Like, listen, this is just, I promise to help fight. What's the alien that's attacking us this week? Starro? Oh, I like seafood. Don't worry, we'll be fine. I'm like, no one thought he's seafood. He should not have come. I'm like, no. It just takes one time for him to miss one face. For somebody to do like this, who's had a bit of martial arts training, seafood for everybody. Just saying. Except for those allergic, and then we got to work that out. Vegans do not have to participate in this. We're going to take, don't worry. The omnivore and the carnivore people will take care of this issue. Anyway, but yeah, no, I go with Nubia or Wonder Woman in a heartbeat. Like, fluxing around, just fluxing out here. But yeah, that was painful. But like, I don't know, maybe it's me cheering me up, but I realized, like, with the right person, it'll be okay. I also follow Ace Dad, and that's how I got in contact with this panel. And like, he has given, I think we might be around the same age, but my new father figure, or my new parental figure, like, just, it just gives me hope that, like, although that was painful, there'll be something else. But that is what happened to me, y'all. And like I said, she was an adorable redhead with freckles. Oh my God. Anyway, I also found out was a close friend of mine. Oh, wait, I'm telling too much of my business on this panel. Anyway, but yeah, that is what happened to me. So
just wanted to quickly plug the Older Aces live panel discussion that's coming right after this one, which is going to feature Corey. So yeah. Next is Artemis, and then Cove.
So I am in my 30s, haven't had a relationship, don't want a relationship. But so as far as how has finding my identity affected my familiar relationships, I definitely came out to my mom just because I found something new and I was like, I gotta share, I gotta tell you what's happening. And doesn't mean she's always understands, and it could be more of a, is a, not that, maybe still try. But it's been about 2 years, and she has been really great. I actually, I did a 5K for a local LGBTQ youth organization, and they had pride flags everywhere. So I took a picture of myself with the pride flag, and I just, shared it with my mom, and she sent me back this really great message saying, thanks for being you, and basically, stuff like that. And I was just like, you know, maybe she doesn't understand, but at the end of the day, she wants me happy, whether that is with a partner or not. And, I got baby fever. My sister has a almost 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And I'm like, give me the babies. And every time, I'm like, okay, bless my sister for having 2 kids, 18 months apart. I want one. And again, my mom has been supportive. She, will go to doctors with me, and we have talked about, hey, I want to be a single parent. But being a single parent doesn't mean I won't have support, that I will have my sister, that this child will have cousins, that I have my mom to, be there as much as she is there for my sister. So for her, it's more of I see how you are with people or don't are with people, and I want you to be happy. And at the end of the day, we're gonna work through it together. It just for the love of God, stop telling me you hate people. I don't know if that's the autism or the being arrow ace, or if it's all of it. People are not. I don't want the big people. I want the little people. And then I keep getting reminded. They grow up. I'm like, it's okay. My own kid is a different story than having a partner to do anything with. I don't want the partner. I want the baby in my house, not another fully adult human being. I don't need a roommate.
I support you, Artemis. Yes.
We all do. Yeah. Cove, you're next.
Hello. I don't have that much to contribute to this, just 2 main points. The first one is coming out to my parents as Demi. I never actually came out to them as Ace Flux because I don't feel I need to, but Demi, I discovered the word and I was very excited about it, and I wanted to share with my parents because I finally had a word to explain something that they were always confused about with me. And like we talked about it, but I never had that label until then. So I was like, I need to share this because now I have a reason to give them for some of the interactions we've had. And they didn't necessarily react badly, but I didn't feel good afterward. It was like mom had the like everyone is that way reaction, and then dad had the okay, I guess it doesn't matter reaction. And so that was kind of my first, that coming out was the one that like laid the, that gave me a read in on what coming out later was going to be, because I had to come out as trans and bi and ace. And so coming out as demi, part of the intent of that was to feel out what my family would be like. And I think some things changed in between the time, so I'm glad I did feel out that, but at the time it didn't feel great. And then I don't have any dating experience and I won't for a long time, but I think one of the things I would say about the question is that being demi slash gray slash ego slash flux, um, I think it would change the dating experience in that I'd probably start with a friend because it's too scary. I think no matter what I'm feeling or no matter who it is or what happens, it's probably going to be a friend because that's like safer or it's more comfortable because of my identity. I'm too scared of talking to someone and having to communicate about what this identity means to them. But if it's a friend that I already knew, then it'd be easier. So I think that's my hypothetical towards myself when it comes to what my day experience would start out like.
Yeah. I just wanted to add that, I mean, I couldn't think of dating any other way for me. I mean, that to me is what like led me to being demi. Then next question. Is your gray, demi, or ago identity tied to any of your other identities, which may, for example, race, mental health, gender, etc.? Artemis?
So kind of alluded to previously, I do. I am autistic, and I was figuring out all aspects of myself in that same year. And it's one of those where being autistic comes with a lot of social people confusion. So it's hard to identify why I don't have relationships or why I don't want relationships. Is it because I'm aroace, or is it because I'm autistic and I don't know how to really connect with people? And for me, I don't see how I can separate that, because the answer is I don't know. And I don't know which is, chicken or the egg. Or at the end of the day, I was born this way and it's all just me, but I cannot untangle it. And I think that there is a label, kind of like a autisexual, which I don't like that, because that kind of assumes you're attracted to autistic people, and that gets into fetishizing, and we don't like that. But it is in the concept of that you cannot, I think there's like gender too, in the way that you cannot separate your autism from your sexual or gender identity. They they all intertwine. I think that neurodivergent, just, it is who you are and how you relate to people. And in the neurodivergent community, and especially in the autistic community, there's a high population of LGBTQ folks in general, and then a high aroace um, community because of that way of people. How do I people properly? How do I want to? Do I want to? Um, so it all comes down to that. So I think it's hard not to be. I mean, it's all intersectionalities they go hand in hand. You can't really separate parts of that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. Cove, you're next.
I also figured out a lot of things at the same time. So I came into college, and I think there was like a month or two grace period before everything started hitting at once. Gender came first, and that was a big one for me because that kind of flipped my life upside down in a lot of ways. And I just got a therapist because I didn't know how to go through that. And when I was talking to her, she was also on the ace spectrum. And so sometimes when I wanted to get away from the topic of gender for a while, we would break up being ace and like talk about that. And wording it to her, I found that sometimes how I experience like dysphoria or gender sometimes affects how I feel attraction. It doesn't necessarily affect my ace identity as far as I can tell, but it's definitely how I define attraction is definitely different depending on how I'm feeling with myself. And if I feel good about myself, I'll be a lot more like, oh, I think I can feel attraction to people. But if I'm feeling very like dysphoric or something like that, it's like my attraction goes away a lot significantly. And so I think that looped in. And then dysphoria sometimes also lined up with sex repulsion a lot. They could both act on their own and not trigger the other, but sometimes they would work together. I actually worked a lot on my sex repulsion for the last year, and I've dimmed it like significantly. It's very occasional now, so I'm actually kind of proud of that. I just want to just say that I'm happy I did that. But I think those are the two big things. And then this year, my roommates have been repeatedly saying like, hey, we think you're neurodivergent. You should maybe get tested for this. And I'm pushing that down the line because I've been going through so many identities for the last year. I just kind of want to put one on the back burner for a bit before I go diving in again, if that makes any sense. So I'm sure that also influences especially when I get scared of doing things. I think that could be a part of that.
That makes so much sense. Like if, trying, the dysphoria, I mean, that journey really does make sense. And there's always time to understand your neurodivergency. So take your time. You'll find it when you need to. It's all good. It doesn't go away.
I fully agree with what Artemis is saying. I think that a large part of it is just giving ourselves the patience and the grace to realize that it's an ongoing process. Kind of misquote mangle a Buddhist saying that was abused by Apple Computer in the 80s. Like, the journey itself is your reward. Not so much getting there, it's how you get there and all the things you learn along the way. Wanted to read some stuff from Cobra. Cobra said, my identity is always changing as gender fluid, so it's very confusing, but also very fun to experience different perspectives in terms of sexuality and gender. And Tildren said that, I think my demi identities interact with my aplatonic spectrum and neurodivergent identities as an experience soup. If I had a penny for every time I'd ended up in a QPR with and neurodivergent assigned male at birth, aspect ally, I'd literally have 2 pennies. I love my lab partner and my covalent, no Romo. I love that idea of the experience soup. That really does resonate with me a lot. Rory, do you want to answer, or do you want to move on?
I think I will. I think that I like what Queen Angela Bassett said is or like always talks about is not interaction, Lord, intersectional. Thank you. I think for me that's what it is. I think I'm finding out I was assigned female at birth. That was about going to something else. I was assigned female at birth, and honestly, at like about 34, when I ended up moving out to LA, and we were in quarantine, and I sat with myself for a bit. Knew I was an amazing Black person. Knew that growing up, thankfully was raised to be very Afrocentric. So I got to love myself and to like myself, even when the world, makes that hard. And I knew around in my late teens that I was, queer. Well, by thankfully I feel grateful I kind of grew up when that was starting to come more onto the main stage, like with Ellen coming out. And then I knew I was an ally, but then around 15, 17, I was like, oh, okay. I think I fell a pool anyway. And then like I had a dream, the girl again, about this girl in my class. So I just assumed I liked her. I didn't remember that, dreams can mean one thing or another, but I think it felt like home. And then like, I think with each identity, it's like always a questioning with it. Like, am I really, or am I jumping on a bank, and I wondered that with bi-ness. And I guess I'm sometimes have those moments with my demi or flux. I'm like, but you like to read about it. You like to do this. Yeah. Just, you usually feel the I was trying to find a better, more palatable word, but you feel the sexual excitement, a lot. But you haven't done, but like, I'm like, they're going to kick you off the panel. I got to not listen to my negative self-talk sometimes. But I'm like, you're going to find out. They're going to send a bat or a dragon, a very small dragon. Maybe they'll let you keep it as a pet, particularly an Indonesian dragon, which looks very cool. But yeah, but just, I guess, honestly, I think I'm not going to show up as like, not this or that. I get very upset when I feel any particular group, particularly a marginalized group, is being denigrated. It's like instant anger. And I fucks with that, but I realize part of that is because I belong to a lot of those different groups, but also that's just generally how I feel. So I think, but it's kind of like a carousel. I would describe it as, like, depending on what's being discussed or what is, like I said, I'm learning more about this. And I think with each identity, I've learned to not do this along with a therapist or a series of them, to like trip out about like self-doubt in this identity, like being bi or being omni or being this. At first it was like, oh no, wait a minute, this is a little scary. Okay, we're just, being having ADHD and then feeling, do I talk about this too much? Somebody said I talked about it too much. And I'm like, whatever, forget them. Because honestly, I'm gonna talk about this all day. I'm gonna talk about, listen, once I really understand a little bit more about, my new flag, I'm gonna talk about this too, because it's like, when it has an impact on your life, you have a right to talk about you, and then I have to do my 40-year-old. Okay, Code, I really feel what you're saying, because like I found out I have, ADHD. Both my parents were like, we think you're also on the autism spectrum. And my sibling, he is on the autism spectrum. We know that for sure. And I was like, but the only thing is ADHD shares a lot of things with, and I was told it's the group of folk who have ADHD share a lot of things with folk who are also on the autism spectrum. And I'm starting to wonder if it's going to be one whole box one day with more study. You know what I'm saying? But I'm probably going to get tested later for that too. My parents didn't give me a good reason. I won't repeat it. But like, it seems to me, from my investigation, I think one of my parents has it as well too, or is on the spectrum as well. So we're just, marching down the line. And I know family-wise, particularly on my matriarchal line, that's a very strong gene. It seems as if like at least one member of our different families, I'm looking generationally, has at least one member who is on the autism spectrum. So why wouldn't it, continue down the line? So a gene like blue eyes, so, or more than one. But I think, like you said, Cove, I'm still sort of adjusting or learning more about being, neurodivergent with like, having ADHD. Honestly, I'm gonna put this out here too. I think if you've been like, found to be gifted, I don't know if anybody said this, but I think that also should be within or counted within neurodivergent, because you're going to be different from the other bears just enough. And usually there seems to be a crossover again of having ADHD and sometimes being found to be like within the gifted population as well. So again, it's all my little identities, all my little cups are on the same table. It's just, what are we looking at, or what am I feeling the most in that moment? I guess how I also express this is through my writing. Like, I'm a professional writer, wrote comic books, wrote an alternate universe. I'm about to do vampires and a bunch of other predator natural beings. And I also have a poly group too. Well, actually, the group is poly. It's like main character, her mates. And that development over the last 10 years has gotten quite interesting. At first it was like sort of a monopoly bicycle wheel with spokes, and then it was like a triad in the center. But now I'm like, listen, I think the unicorn and the mermaid vampire, I think they like each other. You know how just like, I think Artemis, you would get this too, because you're particularly in the fandoms, like certain characters, they're just drawn to each other for one reason or another, right? So you're in this big mansion. It's going to be rather nice, y'all. I'm working on different things. Definitely understand the controversy of AI, but I'm at least using it to, I was hired to do a job on it. But I also did the, I'm doing different characters, like, sexy dominatrix tooth fairy and things of that nature. But to go back to the original question, I really, all my cups are playing beer pong together. What's just, where's that ball landing? And a lot of times it's landing in all three in different ways. And like, it annoys me so much when people feel like you talk too much about it. But it's like, if you are not having my experience, particularly if you ain't in this marginalized group, you need to act different. Just need to act different right about now. You need to come with like either support or kindness, curiosity. And some days, particularly if you are in a marginalized group or several crossover groups, you don't want so many questions, So, that I like how, you make it a question if you want to answer this question, But yeah, I show up as me, and me is all the things, and particularly with identifying as a non-binary woman, or I'm starting to realize in some cases, right? Like, and this also fluctuates too, but identifying as when I have to choose between man, woman, or non-binary, and I need to have more boxes, y'all. I think everybody here would agree with that. Like, I put down non-binary. Like, I'm like, look, I don't want to have to like surprise people, gender reveal or non-gender reveal. Depends on what I'm feeling. To quote the wizard in The Wiz, that's the way I felt like coming out today. Have you ever been kissed by lightning? That will make you go away. We really need that card too. But yeah, I'm going to show up as all of me. I guess it's each one is interacting because I'm within the Black community. That depending on where I am, within it, that some of my other identities are going to be more understood. Some of them are like, some people might try not to. My neck hurt. I shifted my head too quickly. This happens when you get old. Anyway, but don't listen, Cove. Hang on to it as long as you can, so you can move your neck freely. But yeah, like it's but I'm excited to go to Pride, and one day, I'm originally from Philly, we have a Doom Day, which is like, a celebration of Afrocentric culture, and we had Pride on the same day. So I had to just, enjoy the Blackness for a while. I tried to slide down and taste the rainbow for a little while. I missed the rainbow, but like, I'm looking for different Pride connections, like, Black Pride connections on like Instagram and stuff. So that's helpful. So yeah, we show up as the whole rainbow, especially with the new 2 stripes they added. If that is my roundabout way or my circular answer to your question.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we've got about 5 minutes left, and it's time
right
to wrap up. And how about we just go around and give kind of like promote whatever, just kind of say who we are on social media if folks want to follow us. Cove?
Okay. I don't have most social media, but I do have a career education YouTube channel. It's very new. It's very raw. I am me, so I'm still new to explaining a lot of things and wording things. So I encourage people to correct me if I say anything wrong or update me on things I maybe missed in my videos. But I can post that link inside the convention Discord if people want it. If
Yeah.
people don't want it, then I won't put it up.
Yeah, just please, if we have Medium pages, Instagrams, art websites, writing websites, they will go in the Discord chat, which is let me check. It is where is it again? The Demi Grey discussion, the Demi Grey discussion channel on Discord. Thank you so much, Cove. Artemis, you want to?
So you can, I have an AO3 account if anybody's interested to read anything. Teen Wolf, Julie and the Phantoms, Gossip Girl. I write a lot, or I did write a lot and I want to write a lot. And a big place you can find me is the unofficial Avon Discord. I'm there. I'm a moderator over there. Would love to continue to talk with everybody. We definitely have a booming neurodiversity channel there to continue to question and talk. But you know.
Thank you so much, Artemis. If you could please drop an invite link in the in the channel, I would love to join that. Sorry, Krista, for skipping you. Krista?
It's all good. I just wanted to say for children that Ni has an Instagram for the Indonesian A-Spec group. That's at Indo A-Spec, spelled INDO_ASPEC on Instagram. And they also have a Discord invite on the Instagram bio for any Indonesian or Southeast Asian A-Specs. But also, everyone is welcome to spread the word about this group.
Fantastic. And yeah, I actually changed my name to my Twitter handle right there, Rampancy, which is where you can find me on Twitter. And there you can find access to my writing page on Medium, where I've been doing a whole bunch of essays, including essays on demisexuality. I've been writing a long series on asexuality and the tarot. And yeah. Rory, did you want to promote any groups or writing or?
Yes. Okay. So let's see. Oh, and I just had a request too. I know we're saying all this verbally, but if like we could email it, that'd be really great. You know, because yes, and thank you, children, for what you said in the chat. And yes, Cove, I'm offering a family branch as well. You know, so. Yes. You seem like good people. And I like that you write too. But what I was going to say is you can find me at Instagram. And I'm learning the Discord. You know, I said the Discord. I'm learning Discord. But on Instagram, I am at RORSTLL, no I.
Rory, how about you put it in the chat, and then I can put that on the Discord channel.
Okay. This is my Instagram, and you can find all the things in my link tree, both my books that I have online, and also my comic book, which I adapted the book into a comic book. In short, it is an alternate universe written in anthology style that deals with like weird things happening to people. And it is a mixture between the Twilight Zone and Animaniacs, or Tiny Toons or Looney Tunes. Just, it's going to be groovy. And I'm working on pre-production for Teddy Ninja, which is a character from that, for the cartoon. So we were going to be pitching around to see where we can help that land. I will be writing a Dracula More Than Blood, and the goal is to drop it on Halloween. It will be taking place in the Flashbang universe. That's not out yet, but it will be, and either I will be producing it independently, or I will have it with somebody's production company. The thing with who makes books, the publishing company. There we go. So,
thanks so much. Yeah.
You can find Flashbang sci-fi stories that will blow your mind on the Amazon in different bookstores, and then you can actually request any of your bookstores to order it too. It is going to, they're going to say, oh, it's in Ingram. You can request it. It's print on demand, so you can demand the book at your local Barnes and Noble or
That
book.
sounds awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks to everyone for being here, for showing up and being present, for being vulnerable, for sharing your experiences. We all need your stories. We all need your voices, and we all need to lift each other up. And I think that's what we were doing here. And I think it's just been a real honor and a pleasure to meet and have gotten to have known all of you. And I'm really looking forward to keeping this conversation going, whether it be on Discord or Twitter or any other forum out there. So thank you again.
Awesome.